Hi people, welcome to the Run Testers, and in this video we are pitching the On Cloudstratus 3 up against an old favourite, the New Balance 1080 V13. Now the On Cloudstratus 3 here is billed as a no compromise cushion shoe that you can use to double your run, basically a shoe for eating distance in comfort, whilst the New Balance also aims to bring comfort to your daily training miles. So which one of these two is best? Well, we've logged tons of miles in both, and we've given them the multi-tester treatment to find out. We're going to reveal that in this video, so watch on. So quick details then, let's start with some comparisons. When it comes to stack height, On doesn't list an official stack height for the Cloudstratus, but they're packing 30 mils or more in the heel and around 20 mils in the forefoot for a 6 mil drop. The New Balance 1080 V13 has a slightly larger stack than the V12 with 38 mils in the heel, 32 mils in the forefoot, also for a 6 mil drop. The On Cloudstratus weighs in at 11.3 ounces or 320 grams in a UK men's 8.5 test shoe, while the New Balance 1080 V13 comes in at a much lighter 9.2 ounces or 260 grams. Price wise, the Cloudstratus 3 are £170 or $180. The 1080 V13 are £160 or $165 in US money. Now, quick shoe whip round then, and these are both big shoes on the maximal side of things. The New Balance packs a larger overall stack of a new lighter Fresh Foam X. There's an updated rocker shape as well, and some extra forefoot stiffness in there too. That's to help you snap through each step. The On Cloudstratus has a double stack of On's trademark Helian foams, these clouds here, and sandwiched in that midsole there's a nylon speedboard plate. There's also a pretty substantial rocker here too. Up top, the Cloudstratus have these perforated uppers that are a bit more thin and airy, while the New Balance has an engineered mesh upper, marginally more padded underneath, with a more wrapped and less airy fit overall. The heel collars on both shoes and the gusseted tongues offer similar padding that's on the plush side. The Cloudstratus's gusset extends right down into the shoe for a sort of wrap kind of booty feel. The Cloudstratus also had quite a rigid external heel clip. Flip them over, and there's some strategic but pretty generous covering of rubber on both shoes. The Stratus has tabs on the cloud impact zones. The New Balance has endurance rubber in all the major impact zones as well, but this kind of follows a flex groove design with bits that are designed there to follow the way that your metatarsals move. Now when it comes to fit, I ran true to size in my UK 8.5 regular running shoe size in both of these shoes. In the New Balance, I found the fit spot on with good step in comfort, good heel hold, decent lace lockdown across the midfoot, and a padded tongue that I think helps avoid that kind of lace pinch. There's ample room in the toe box for length and across the top of the toes. With the Cloudstratus 3, the only thing I'd say is that I had to pay attention to how I laced them down a little more to get that kind of good hold across the midfoot. And they weren't the most secure when it came to heel hold either, but I would still recommend going true to size in both these shoes.
I'll start with the fit. New Balance always come up small for me. I always go up half a size in New Balance. But the 1080 I've found really tricky. The last few years, I don't know what to recommend with sizing. So I'm normally a UK 5 in pretty much all running shoes. These are a UK 5.5, and I do have a lot of room in the toe box, and I wonder whether I needed to go up half a size in the 1080 V13, because I do think the 1080 as a line comes up quite long in the foot. But I've gone up half a size here. I have a lot of room in the toe box, and I find the toe box is quite wide, and I've got plenty of room. I would always rather have a little bit more room, especially for a daily training shoe like this, where you are probably going to be doing long runs in it. The On Cloudstratus 3, I wish this is a UK 5, and I wished I had a little bit more room in the toe box of the shoe. That said, it feels a little bit sleeker and a little bit tighter around the foot. And I preferred the fit of the New Balance just because I have quite high arches and quite wide feet. Whereas On, I definitely find come up a little bit narrower.
Fit for me in these two shoes. The 1080 V13, size 8 in the UK, this is a size 8. Very comfortable shoe, no issues at all. Definitely stay to my size in this shoe. I think the upper is very comfortable. There's plenty of space in the forefoot. It's just absolutely fine for me. I find this to be a very comfortable shoe and definitely would stick to my size. The Cloudstratus, I have found it to be fine in my UK size 8, but I'd say is the upper is quite spacious, so if you do have a narrow foot, you might find it a little bit too forgiving. I didn't have any issues with it. I would stick to my size in the shoe. but just take that into consideration. Other than that, yeah, it's a very comfortable shoe, no issues at all.
Now for my run test, I've done more than 50 miles in the 1080 V13, maybe just short of 50 in the Cloudstratus 3. That's at a mix of paces on roads and light off-road, the usual drill when it comes to my testing. Now when it comes to the 1080 V13, I found them excellent for those easy efforts where you just want a bit of reliable protection and all-round plushness on the foot. If you want cocoon shoes for slow mile comfort, the 1080 V13 absolutely delivers that. They tick all the boxes for a max cushion soft comfort shoe. It's a very capable easy day recovery option. The Cloudstratus 3 I'm a little less convinced by overall. It's another perfectly reliable happy cushion cruiser. And if you're after cushioning for low and slow easy miles with perhaps a few mid-tempo efforts thrown in, these will do a job. They've just not really wowed me any time when I've gone out and taken them out on my runs. I've enjoyed my miles in them without being blown away. Happy cruiser kind of vibe here. I found them relatively well balanced, if a tad heavy, and that weightiness I think probably limits their top end speed and subsequently overall daily training versatility. Now I've also done a mile with one of each of these shoes on each of my feet, and here's what I found. So then I've just done my side-by-side mile. I have the Cloudstratus 3 on the left foot, I have the New Balance 1080 V13 on the right foot. The first major difference here that you notice from running in both these shoes at the same time is that the Cloudstratus 3 is much firmer, the New Balance is much softer, despite the fact these are both supposed to be big stack cushion daily trainers that are supposed to be protective over long miles. There is a very marked difference in the way that these land and hit the ground. With the Cloudstratus 3 there's almost virtually no sink. It just comes straight back, it's quite firm, it's quite rock-like, whereas with the MB 1080 V13 there's a lot of sink there, there's a softness, there's a pillowiness, cushioned, you know, all of that kind of running on clouds vibe is there with the 1080. You don't get that with the Cloudstratus. You're going to get a very firm ride here. If that's what you're after, that's great. If you like this kind of sink and softness, you want the edge taken off the road, then you're going to want to go for the 1080 V13. I'm in two minds here. I mean, I like the comfort and the overall plushness of the 1080 V13. They are super easy to clip along in, nice and slow and steady for your recovery runs. But I do like a firmer shoe, I have to say. And I think in terms of the ride for shorter runs that I might be doing, where I want a little bit more immediacy and I want a bit more response rather than softness from the big max stack, then I think the Cloudstratus 3 is going to do it. Overall though, I feel like the MB 1080 V13 is a better put together shoe. The uppers hold more snugly, the foot feels better held in place, they just feel more natural on the foot. Cloudstratus 3 feels a little bit disjointed to me. I think from the uppers, from the way that I can't quite get the midfoot locked down, a bit of slipping in the heels, the whole shoe just doesn't feel quite as sort of well dialed in and well thought out as the 1080. So even though maybe I'm a little bit drawn towards that kind of firmer rolling ride of the Cloudstratus, I think most runners are going to like the 1080 V13 much more. It's just a bit more agile. When it comes to stability though, that firmer platform of the Cloudstratus 3 I think makes for a more stable ride. You know exactly how you're going to land with each step in this shoe, whereas with the 1080 V13 there is a bit of wobble there, there is a bit of softness that means there's a bit of room for the foot to kind of move in the shoe and wobble. You don't really get that with the Stratus, you just land as you do on that firm surface and off you go.
So the run test, these are both definitely soft, plush, everyday running shoes. The kind of shoe you want to wear for most of your marathon training miles. Neither of them are particularly great at picking up the pace when you want to go a little bit faster. They're definitely in that everyday training category. Long runs, comfy, long time on your feet, good running shoes. The On Cloudstratus is a little bit heavier. I'd say it's really hard to say, but it feels a tiny bit firmer underfoot and it is a little bit heavier, but I don't think you feel it all that much. It definitely doesn't feel like a really heavy shoe to run in, but it is a little bit heavier. So if you're looking for a lightweight shoe, I mean, neither are that lightweight, but the New Balance edges ahead a little bit. I've done a good amount of easy running in both, done more in the New Balance 1080 line than I have in the Cloudstratus 3, and this is my favourite version of both shoes. I didn't love the last few 1080s. Actually, no, the 1080 V12 I liked, but the 1080s before that with the big plastic thing at the back was not a fan of. And the On shoes I've never really loved. I've always found them a bit firm, whereas this is definitely a softer running shoe. If you've run in On before and you found it too firm, this is the running shoe to try with On or the Cloud Monster, but we've done a comparison of them in another video. So yeah, both really soft, really comfy running shoes, and I've done a lot of miles in both and really enjoyed doing soft, plush, easy miles in both. I would say the New Balance has a little bit more sinking comfort and definitely feels, it feels a little bit wider. You feel like you've got more room in the shoe. The On, I'd say, is a little bit sleeker, a little bit heavier, but still a plush, comfy running shoe, but it's not, it doesn't have that same sinking feel for me, but there's really not much in it, and I'm really nitpicking here.
Okay, so these two shoes are both shoes that you might look at if you are looking for a daily trainer or an easy day shoe, but they are very different shoes. I'll start with the Cloudstratus. So On, I've never been a big fan of the cushioning in On. Their brand has updated the cushioning a little bit in the past with the Helium foam, and it was a bit of an improvement, but it's still quite a firm, rigid foam, and it doesn't really give you a lot back. For some people, I know Kieran likes a little bit more of a rigid foam, that's probably fine, but for me it's not soft enough. I also don't find it to be that responsive either. It's a little bit of a solid workhorse shoe which doesn't really give a lot back. It feels very stable to me. It's fine, but I never find myself picking this shoe up for any of the runs that I do. For easy runs, it just doesn't have enough cushioning for me, or soft cushioning for me. It's not a particularly versatile shoe. It's just a solid shoe, really, that doesn't really fit into any useful area for me. With the 1080 V13, the difference is that, well, the 1080 range has actually developed quite a lot in this new version. So the previous versions had quite a firm midsole in them, and as a result, I never found them to be that interesting. They didn't really feel like they had a lot of excitement in the midsole. Not necessarily something that everybody wants, but it was just a bit dull. They were perfectly solid daily trainers, and I used them for some of my training runs, but I never really found them to be that interesting a shoe. The New Balance More V4 used the same foam, but it had a lot more foam in it, so as a result it was a little bit softer and just felt like there was more to it. Now the 1080 V13 has this new updated Fresh Foam X midsole foam, which is considerably softer than the previous versions, and I love a soft shoe. I love a lovely bit of cushioning in my shoes, and for me it's perfect for that. It just feels really comfortable. I can tick off the miles really nicely, and it just nestles into the ground. It doesn't have loads of bounce back, but it does have a bit, but I would probably say for longer distance or faster training it's a bit sluggish. It's not really great for those runs, but it's just a very comfortable daily shoe, easy run shoe. It probably competes with a lot of shoes, max cushion shoes that are designed for easy runs, because that softness of the foam really delivers. But it's just a really comfortable shoe for easy day runs for me. So if that's what you want, it's a great option for it, and it's really comfortable. The upper's great as well. It's got nice soft upper design, but it's reinforced quite nicely as well. So it really holds the foot in place. Feels like your foot's really firmly held together when you're hitting the ground, and just have that lovely soft landing. Can't do a lot else. It's not versatile. It's not fast. I probably wouldn't use this shoe if I was going over about 15k, just because it's a little bit sluggish, and I'd probably feel that later on in the run. But for all those easy day runs up to about 15k, it's absolutely great, and I just love putting this shoe on if I'm going out for a really comfortable run. So the big difference between these shoes comes down to the midsole foam. If you're getting the 1080 V13, it's really soft, comfortable foam. If you don't like soft foams, definitely don't get the 1080 V13. And the Cloudstratus, it's a very firm, solid midsole foam, so might be better for heavier runners who need a little bit more structure in their midsole. I don't get anything from it though. It just feels a little bit like a dead midsole to me. And I think there are other options out there that probably do a better job if you're looking for a solid midsole foam that's a little bit more balanced. The outsole on these two shoes as well. So the outsole on the Cloudstratus, absolutely fine, no issues with it at all. The midsole foam is a little bit sturdier than what you're getting in the 1080 V13, so it doesn't really need that much river covering on it. I've not really worn hardly any of this down now. I've not really used these in the wet very much because I was testing these over the summer, but they were absolutely fine. The outsole was no issues at all for me. The 1080 V13, there is a nice layer of rubber on it. There's not a lot of grip on it. It's quite a smooth outsole, so it's probably not that great for tricky terrain and things like that. And also you have quite a bit of exposed midsole here, and it's quite a delicate midsole foam, so I probably have concerns about durability of this. I can see bits of it wearing away after about 70 or 80k I've done in these shoes. So not the best midsole on the 1080 V13. It's fine, but I think the On Cloudstratus is better.
My verdict, these are both great, everyday, easy running shoes. It's really, really hard to pick between them both. I think a lot of it comes down to style, a lot of it comes down to brands you love. I've done a lot more running with New Balance than I have with On, but I know that On, they're just cool, aren't they? They're super popular. So I think either shoe you pick, you're getting a really good, really plush, everyday running shoe. I really love both, and it's really hard for me to pick between the two. They're both around the kind of similar price point, and I think they're both really good daily training running shoes. A lot depends on what you're going to race into. If you're going to go for a New Balance, kind of the Elite V3, then maybe train in the 1080. Either way, you're getting a plush everyday running shoe that you'll be able to do a lot of miles in, and they're both great picks.
Okay, my verdict on these two shoes, pretty simple. I'm going for the 1080 V13 all the way. I think it's a solid update on the previous 1080 shoes. I love the softness in it. I think it's a great, enjoyable, easy day shoe, daily shoe. It's absolutely fine. Not very versatile, but that's not why I wear this shoe. I've got other shoes that I'll use that for. But if you're looking for an easy, comfortable, enjoyable soft shoe, 1080 V13 is fantastic. The Cloudstratus, now, I don't think I'd get this shoe. It's just a bit of a heavy, chunky, solid workhorse. For me, it just doesn't offer anything back, really. It's not particularly versatile. It's not particularly good at easy runs for me, and it's not a great daily shoe either. So definitely going for the 1080 V13.
Verdict then, and for me the decision here will come down to whether you want a big stack with a firmer rockered ride, or you're after something that's much more pillowy, soft and squishy. I think on balance the MB 1080 is the more complete shoe. It feels more natural, and even though for shorter runs I kind of like the firmness and the roll of the Cloudstratus 3, the Cloudstratus 3 to me doesn't feel natural enough on the foot. I'm too aware of it whilst I'm running. You know, I don't know, they just don't feel sort of like they belong on my feet entirely. So if I was setting out on a 2-hour plus run tomorrow, I'd reach for the 1080 V13, even though I think I'd have a little more work to do to pick up through the transitions. A little bit harder in the 1080s because of that sync. But the 1080 V13 is also a much cheaper shoe as well. So for a daily trainer geared towards the slower and lower end of things, the winner for me is the New Balance 1080 V13. But if I could choose a shoe outside of this battle between these two shoes, I'd recommend looking at something like the Saucony Ride 17, which sits somewhere in between. I think the Brooks Ghost Max is also a pretty close match for the 1080 V13. I think it's at a cheaper price. The Cloud Eclipse is a much better all-rounder as well, I think, than the Cloudstratus 3, so there's some other options. So there you have it. That's our head-to-head between the On Cloudstratus 3 and the New Balance 1080 V13. We hope you found it helpful. If you have any questions, hit us up in the comments below. If you've had the chance to run in either or both of these shoes, let us know how you found them. Prefer one or the other? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to like and subscribe and ring the bell for more great Run Testers videos when they land. If you want more insights into both of these shoes, there are some videos popping up on the channel just about now. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and we hope to see you again soon on the Run Testers. Happy running, people.